We're almost a week away from Browns, Kitty Cats, Bengals. Almost there. Tony Camino here. I'm Andy Billman here. Getting excited all throughout Labor Day. It's about college football, but after that, it flips quickly to NFL. I have not talked to Tony in a while. Tony, now after you've had a chance to digest, you see 53-man roster. How are you feeling about the Browns as we're less than 10 days away from kickoff?
Feeling really good. The roster is deep from top to bottom. The first string played great in that last game, and it all looks like all that's left to do is just go out there and get wins. Everything else is in place.
Well, if you're talking wins, and you got to talk about number 4, which is our good friend here, Deshaun Watson. Watson did have, before we get up to the plays that Tony diagrammed, I'll just say this about Watson, and then I'll let Tony speak, then we'll get to the plays. I thought Deshaun played okay. I thought he had some moments like we're going to see here from Njoku. He had a big throw on third down, DPJ, which I liked. There were some other moments where it was kind of throwing the ball into the dirt. And, somebody goes, well, he's not trying to get picked, so I get it. I thought he looked okay. I think he's getting closer to revved up, but I don't know if we're going to see that at elitism this year. What are your feelings on Deshaun?
Yeah, I think you got it pretty good. Like that game, he showed his flashes. There were a couple of throws, like, yeah, he definitely left short. The out route to Elijah Moore comes right into my mind.
Yep.
I think it might just be one of those things where it continues to take him. It's going to be kind of like a building block, like for many of the other players. It's not going to be week 1, okay, this is Deshaun. It might take till week 8, 9, 10. But as long as he's showing progress along the way and not causing us games as he gets to the top, it's all good.
Deshaun did make a beautiful dime to our good friend David Njoku. Tony, take us through what you saw here.
Yeah, so right here, you could tell, so they're in man coverage, which Deshaun cannot tell right away, but the man over Njoku is the safety all the way back at the goal line. DPJ is the wide receiver, and then Elijah Moore is actually in the backfield. So DPJ is going to be running that sort of in route, not quite a slant, but an in route right off of Njoku. And Elijah Moore is going to drift out, go out, and then run an out route, while Njoku has all that space to the whole side of the field to make a play. So once on the snap, he sees the cornerback carries with Donovan Peoples-Jones. He knows it's man coverage, and he knows that there's nobody else out there besides the one safety that David Njoku's covered. And there's a lot of cushion there, and he has that whole side from the right hash on, one-on-one with our best red zone target. This is great play calling from Stefanski. This is exactly the situation you're trying to get to in the red zone. And then the defender, the safety, actually made really good coverage, but Deshaun could not have placed this ball any better, high and away from him, and Njoku makes a great catch. So really just inspiring to see from everyone. We saw Elijah Moore create kind of a distraction out of the backfield. Good route by Njoku, good play call from Stefanski, and a good throw and catch.
I'm going to go back to one slide before we go to the next set. This is the kind of stuff where you see in the original depiction here by Tony. Elijah Moore in the backfield. Tony, I think you're going to see that a lot this year. I really do.
Yeah.
I think
he's going to be the third down running back almost.
Yeah, I think you're going to see a lot of Eric Metcalf. And I think some of it's been done on, too, by injuries. We have not seen Jerome Ford. So because of that, I really do think you're going to see more of this kind of stuff. So there you go. That is Deshaun Watson. Now, to what we got here on defense. What are we seeing here, Tony, on our first play here on the defensive side of the ball?
So what I got from that Chiefs game, watching it through and through, is that we are going to play a lot of man coverage this year. And that's what they're doing here. And it can be good. We've got the personnel for it. So on this one, it's
hard
MJ
pause
Emerson.
for a second. Yeah, are we missing zone? I'm not missing zone. Are you missing zone? I am not.
After last year, not at all. The miscommunications in zone last year were mind-blowing. But so on this one, the receiver, the number 1 receiver, who's the closest to the sideline, motions down to a tight sort of stack with his other receiver. And so what they're going to do here is run what's called a swap route, where it's great against man coverage because usually you can create a rub or a natural pick, and you're going to get some guy open most times. But what happens really well here with MJ Emerson is he presses underneath that. The second he sees that his receiver do an outside release, he presses in close to him so he knows he can get under JOK and not run into him and not create that easy rub opening. So he does a great job pressing up and staying on. And then JOK looking like a DB on this rep. I mean, he jumps the pass perfectly and makes a diving breakup. And then as you see, Emerson is still blanketing over the top. It's just great coverage really altogether. And it's a good technique that shows that we should be able to play man at a really high level this year if we got our ones out there.
JOK had a weird split. His first year, I thought he did well. Last year, didn't go so hot, and he had an injury. Where are you on JOK? Do you think he would have success like this with him this year?
I really think he's going to have a great year. I think last year we can almost completely chalk it up to the injury. And on top of that, the new defensive coordinator, I really like JOK. I think they're going to get the most out of his speed and like freakish ability. And he's been flying around all preseason just like he looked like year one.
I was going to say the exact phrase. I thought in Kansas City game, he was the one guy, along with Za'Darius Smith, who really stood out. I mean, really stood out in this game. Speaking of such man, Za'Darius Smith.
Yeah, he had one rep in this game, not this one, where he just absolutely bull rushed on a pass rush. This one, so this is right here. This is just, he's in a 6 technique, meaning he's lined up head over the tight end. And this is really just a power run by the Chiefs. So all of their guys are down blocking, and the backside guard is pulling through as the lead blocker. Za'Darius does something that I've seen like 3 Browns D linemen ever do, and that's properly engage in a blocker and then disengage and make a tackle. You can see here his hands all the way up on his shoulder pad as he's throwing him to the side, and then he makes a great tackle for loss to force 3rd and short. And then what happens on 3rd and short? Juan Thornhill, interception, touchdown. So this is a huge play to force a 3rd down, to force them to throw the ball a little bit. It was 3rd and 1. Still, they didn't want to run it right through our D line. And Za'Darius Smith has looked amazing in preseason. And if he can do any of this alongside Myles Garrett, offensive coordinators are going to have nightmares trying to defend them.
We just talked about the depth of wide receiver talent at Ohio State. There's never been depth of talent at defensive ends and for the Browns. I'm 44 years old. Boy, I don't feel that way this year. I think Za'Darius Smith and Myles Garrett are, if they stay healthy, Tony, I think sky's the limit. And I think actually, finally, it's going to allow these defensive tackles to actually have a few breaths, because they're not going to be focused on. And it's going to allow a player like Tomlinson, who we have not seen play yet, or Harris, or some of the other guys, maybe even, God forbid, Jordan Elliott, make a play or two. Because I know that's reaching. But I'll say it. But I know, even as I said that, I'm like, watch your mouth out. But I'll be fair. Maybe this gives him an opportunity to make some plays, because you have to focus on both.
Right.
You have to. In fact, I'd argue you're probably going to do a block and a half on Za'Darius and 2 on Garrett. Jeez, like that leaves people open. It's a big year for defensive tackle for opportunities. It really is.
Yeah. I'm thinking of 3rd and longs this year. If you're an opposing offense and you get to 3rd and long against the Browns, you're probably going to have to wrap it up, because we're going to bring 4, and Za'Darius Smith's going to line up inside like a D tackle, and we're going to have Okoronkwo and Myles outside. We're going to have 3 DNs getting after the passer with Dalvin Tomlinson playing man-to-man. It's going to be very good stuff if they can execute it properly and stay healthy.
I have a big thoughts. I can tell Tony does too about the defense. We'll do all of our preview stuff next week. We're going to get through the Buckeyes first. Check out Tony's article on the Chiefs and Browns. He'll be doing it for every game this year, all 17 games for the Browns this year. Check it out on BelievingLand.com. Tony does an excellent job of breaking down these plays and so much more. So you'll see Tony before the game, and we're going to see him throughout the season, and we'll get more than that next week. So you got a little taste there of, I think especially like the dime to Njoku, but seeing what we could see from JOK and this possibilities of Za'Darius Smith makes you, I'm excited. I like MJ Emerson a lot.
Yeah, me too.
That kid's good.
Yeah, it's exciting stuff. They showed everything they need to, didn't showcase too much of the offensive playbook. We didn't have Bitonio or Chubb, so that's going to make Deshaun's life even easier. It should be a good year, and week 1 can't get here soon enough.
The only thing I'll say for all of us Browns fans, I hope we don't hear Pierre Strong starting running back and Chubb's hurt. That's my only fear. Everything else, I think we can figure out. We cannot replace Nick Chubb.
No.
Even there's a part of me goes, Deshaun gets hurt for a game or 2. I think DTR can figure it out.
For a game or 2, definitely, yeah.
But for Chubb, I'm like, oh no, I'm not saying. So we'll talk about all those things next week in our previews. Tony there, check out his article on BelievingLand.com. Check out all of our stuff throughout the year for the Browns. Year's wrapping up. Browns take a Labor Day nap. And we get to the regular season. Have a good one. More Browns throughout the season.